adopted Minecraft village. I couldn't actually stop and go work. I had to save the villagers. And now I am the hero of the village, so, it was worth it. Let us open a web browser. Well, it's actually already open. Also, when I came over to start working, I discovered that I was missing a file of some sort. What was it? Wrote it down. VC runtime 140_1-DLL. Was missing. Anyway. I have installed Krita. Looks like Krita to me. I've heard people call it Krita. Anyway. Let's see. What are we going to start with? You can see what I've looked up recently. The city of Barstow, California. How to pronounce Krita. App word usage. Like, app is application. It means the same thing as program, right? So when did we start saying app? Rose thinks it's with the rise of the iPhone or, smartphone. And I think she's right. Manny Pacquiao is he a boxer? I don't know. He's a Filipino celebrity whose mother is also a celebrity. And Apple D-App. American Filipino rapper. Did you know he was Filipino? I did not. All right. Let's start off reading something, shall we? Actually, let's get Krita launched. Where is it? It's the only program I have that starts with K. Apparently. All right, it's launching on the other screen. So for now, hey, how about Restream Chat? Howdy do. Anybody here? Not yet. All right. Let's read something. It's always fun to start with Jim Kunstler's Monday morning rant. And since it's well past morning, repentance. You'd think that a wobbling civilization plagued by failures of economy and politics would have better things to do than to submit to crypto-religious ghost dance and racial hysteria called being woke that preoccupies its thinking class. Yeah, I wouldn't think so. I would think that failing civilizations would tend to obsess over stupid bullshit. But anyway. Case in point, the vocational martyrdom at Smith College of a lowly staffer named Jody Shaw, who objected publicly to the ritual indignities heaped upon her by colleagues and students in the name of social justice. That is the holy war against whiteness. Her story, Ms. Shaw, by the way, I should say I've not heard this story. Her story, Ms. Shaw, a divorced mother with 2 children and Smith alum, 1993, worked as a student support coordinator in the Department of Residence Life. That is, a dorm counselor. She was asked to denounce herself in staff meetings about systemic racism and complained about it through the proper channels, which only invited more hectoring abuse. In frustration, she finally posted a video on the web to expose the Stalinist bullying that was allowed to infect every corner of campus life at Smith. The admin offered her a cash settlement to shut up and get lost. Ms. Shaw turned it down, but resigned anyway in a long letter to Smith President Kathleen McCartney that she made public about the college's hostile workplace. How does this happen? Because wokery, above all, is about status, and the elite schools exist to confer status on young people who can get into them, who then move on into an adult life of high status, high-paying employment, facilitated by their old school connections. In prior times, the elite schools accomplished this by offering a superior education via superior faculty and superior curricula. Lately, the emphasis has shifted to promoting sham moral superiority because it is a short circuit. It is a shortcut to gaining power over other people. And nowadays, elitism is no longer about excellence, but just raw power over others. As the woke hysteria ramped up on campuses across the nation, and the various colleges and U's started competing to outdo each other in moralistic fanaticism, Smith College vied with its sister schools and the other Ivies for wokest of all. The moral black hole at the center of this vicious nonsense is the spectacular failure of authority of the people who run these institutions. Smith President Kathleen McCartney supported and encouraged the woke inquisition on her campus. She gets paid a tidy sum of $515,000. $515,461 a year. I can read words, but not numbers. Let's try that again. She gets paid the tidy sum of $515,461 a year. Maybe she didn't want to give that up by taking a principled stand against bad behavior and bad ideas. Maybe she favors the rule of bad ideas and unprincipled behavior. Is she stupid or depraved? And of course, what about her huge staff of vice presidents and deans, not to mention the school's board of trustees? To what degree are we seeing simple cowardice? Ms. McCartney got stung in 2014, the year the Ferguson, Missouri riots, when she sent out a campus-wide email trying to mollify the inflamed student body under the heading, All Lives Matter. This was early in the woke frenzy, and the phrase All Lives Matter was just then getting minted as a form of hate speech. So Ms. McCartney apparently made an innocent blunder, for which she was forced to pay with one of those abjectly disingenuous apologies that have become the standard dishonorable response to woke coercion. Evidently, she learned a lesson with that. Just go with the flow. The wonder is that not one other adult on that campus has the decency to speak out against the new Stalin-esque fashion, or to support Jody Shaw. It must be self-evident to many of the people caught up in this mob madness, that the woke crusade is dishonest, stupid, cruel, and evil. All it really accomplishes is to generate more racial animosity, while it paints people of color as not having the personal wherewithal to get on in their lives without extra special assistance from people not of color. But having sacrificed their sense and their honor, how can people in authority repent? As author James Lindsay puts it on a podcast in his New Discourses website, quote, "They've been supporting this thing that they can see for themselves is complicit in evil. They intuit it, but psychologically they cannot let themselves see it, because to admit that what they see in front of their own eyes, to admit that it's obviously as bad as it is, that the theory itself, systemic racism, is worse than bankrupt, it's evil, requires going through the entire psychological process of admitting to yourself and others around you that they got duped. And they carried water for that evil thing. There's a high psychological cost to admitting that you were dumb and got tricked, and there is a high social cost for both of these things as well." Close quote. Yeah, there should be a cost. I hope Jody Shaw sues the living shit out of Smith College, its president and its board of trustees. She has a GoFundMe page. It contains the video she made. Send her some money so she can support her kids and hire a lawyer. There's a desperate need to impose consequences for the failure of authority in this land, and to put this insane race hustle behind us, so we can get on with the task of preserving civilized life in a society that is about to implode from further failures in economics and politics. All right, so what's her name? Jody Smith, Jodi. No, Shaw. Jody Shaw. Okay. What do we got here? I'm just lurking, says Benarubber. Well, hey, Benarubber, I'd be interested to hear how or what you got out of the George Friedman book. What's it called? The Storm Before the Calm. So if you're interested, let me know. I'll start a Zoom call. But for now, let's go Jody Shaw. Yeah, Smith College. YouTube. Sure. Huh. All right. Well, I'll have to take that in later. What else we got? Well, how about the previous one? Let's check out some of the comments. What are folks saying? This is the best analysis and summary of what higher education has become that I have ever seen. King of Comedy writes, the university system has to be defunded. Public universities, of course, are sucklings on the government teat and could simply not function without the taxpayer. Private universities, albeit to a lesser degree, are in the same boat. At this point, bridges to nowhere are more valuable to society than unemployable beings created en masse at bullshit factories like Smith. Late Starter writes, I think that quite a few of them will be folding up in the very near future. It will eventually go back to the old model for a while, where the wealthy sent their sons to be groomed for future positions in government and industry. Same situation with flying and traveling in general, and then it will probably all stop. Will anyone feel sorry for all those ex-college and university presidents, deans, board members, etc. when they find themselves unemployed? I didn't think so. We should have taken advantage of the shutdown to develop parallel private education for our own children, our friends' children, and our neighbors' children. It was a wonderful opportunity to break the public schools' hold. Seems that we squandered that opportunity. Likewise with universities. If they cannot or will not provide the in-person learning that students and their parents pay for, there should have been a massive refusal to pay tuition, a loud protest that privileged salaries, and a widespread turn to vocational education. Okay, well, these are fairly sensible comments. Let's see. At its most extreme, is cancel culture an incitement to commit violence, even murder? Once somebody has been canceled, do they completely disappear into a wormhole never to be heard from again? Or does this toxic demonization and extreme defamation of character that the woke Inquisition specializes in encourage personal reprisals that can be life-threatening? And if so, shouldn't the woke mob be held to the same standards that we hold the KKK, neo-Nazis, and other fringe groups? Would like to hear JHK's thoughts about that. I don't know if Jim responds in the comments themselves. I don't see anything from him here. All right, what do we got? Based. Hey, first, how are you? You know, I just remembered that I got an email from you. Was it an email or was it a YouTube comment? Let's see. By the way, snowing like crazy here today. Well, not like crazy. It's snowing. It is snowing. Comments. YouTube doesn't give me notifications about your channel anymore. Yeah. Color me unsurprised. All right, I should draw. So let's put this thing over on the other screen. And over here, look, it's Krita. Whoa! That's a very large image and a very small drawing I've made on it. All right, here's what we're going to do. We are going to select the very small drawing and make it bigger. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try that again. Now, Krita is kind of obnoxious in that it's got... Oh, there we go. Interesting. No. Is that preserving the proportions? I can't tell. There we go. No, that's not what I meant to do. Huh. Control Z is doing nothing. Going back is doing nothing. Huh. Okay. Oh. And then she just pops into existence there. How interesting. All right. Ink. Now, Clip Studio Paint is a great inking program. I don't know why I would want to ink anywhere else, but here I am going to do it. How do I zoom in? Just plus? Yeah, there we go. Oh, me. Okay. Based. First, perhaps you can tell me what based means. Sometimes it seems like it means debased. Is that right? Is it short for debased? Anyway, let me start a Zoom call, and we'll get Ben Rubber on here, and we'll hear what he had to say about The Storm Before the Calm. I don't remember the longer title. Let's see. The full title is The Storm Before the Calm. Well, this isn't the full title. This is as much as I can see without clicking on the link. The Storm Before the Calm, America's Discord, the Coming Crisis of the 2020s, and the Triumph Beyond. All right. Let's go. Zoom. Zoom. My account. Host a meeting with video off. All right. Join with computer audio.
This meeting is being recorded.
Right. Invite. Copy invitation. Restream. All right. There we go. Parker writes, Kunstler used to say that he was allergic to conspiracy theories. He has clearly lost that allergy from exposure. First says, YouTube doesn't give me notifications about your channel anymore. That's because they are looking out for your mental hygiene. And then how do you spell hygiene? Neither is that. Alexa, how do you spell hygiene?
Hygiene is spelled Hygiene.
All right. So, the call. Benjamin has entered the waiting room. All right.
Hello.
Hey there. So, The Storm Before the Calm, did you read it or did you listen to it?
I listened to it, so I don't have a thick thing of notes.
Well, I thought it was
which maybe is better.
I thought it was a good production. You know, his audiobooks.
Yeah, I liked it.
Right.
It's funny how he ended the book. I was like, waiting for his conclusions, his own perspective, opinions throughout the whole book, and they were a little funny. One of them, I had never heard of the solar, like, what is it, solar panels in space, and then they microwave the energy back to Earth.
Did he talk about that in this book?
Yeah, at the end. Oh, you had said, I heard that you didn't finish it. You've actually listened to like other chapters repeatedly, though.
Yeah, no, I think I did eventually hear the end. But anyway, the bit that I remember best about his, his idea as to what's coming and what the next cycle will be, and you can't really predict the next cycle before it arrives, but he gave the example of commander's intent in the military. How the military is, the U.S. military is the world's largest bureaucracy. So it demonstrates how you can integrate common sense and intent into a huge bureaucracy, that you don't have to turn everybody who works in the bureaucracy into a mindless robot just, following.
Yeah. Give people the amount of trust to make a decision in the moment rather than hold up everything and wait for someone's signature or approval from up in the hierarchy.
Exactly.
That was appealing.
For
sure.
I don't look to George Friedman for in-depth, thinking about the nuts and bolts of technology. I mean, he's a geopolitics guy, so I don't, like, if he was talking about solar panels in space and, beaming the energy back down to Earth and such, I don't. Could be I just tuned that out. I'm not interested in what he has to say on that topic.
Yeah, it was funny. It sounded like he had just heard it once and thought, gosh, why don't we do that?
That sounds good.
Maybe didn't look into it.
Ben Robert,
I never heard of it, and I haven't looked into it, so I can't really throw it down. But it sounds as goofy as a lot of other stuff.
Goofy how?
I guess kind of too good to be true avenue, and maybe like how nuclear has been hoping to, in the next 5 years become the primary energy source sort of thing.
Well, I don't know anybody who knows anything about nuclear who thinks it's going to be our primary energy source 5 years from now. I
forget what the promise.
Well, there are several projects.
Maybe it's like 20 years ago.
Yeah, there are several current projects which are making demonstrable progress toward sustainable nuclear fusion, but it's going to require building enormous projects, very expensive, enormous projects, iteratively, because we learn stuff, and I say I have nothing to do with it. But people working on the projects learn stuff with each iteration, but then, to take it further, you have to build another multi-billion-dollar facility. Like the tokamak. Familiar with that one?
No.
Well, let's see. Let me get this over here.
And then that would need to be weatherized in the way that Texas wasn't, too, because their nuclear plants had gone down, or they couldn't operate them because of a safety measure. Some sensor was not able to function.
In Texas, just recently?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. I mean, any currently working nuclear reactor is going to be a fission reactor. It's a very different technology than the fusion reactor, which is what everybody's been hoping and waiting for. So, tokamak. Cookie notification, go away. Where do we... Here, what is a tokamak? Power plants everywhere generate electricity by converting mechanical power, such as the rotation of a turbine, into electrical power. In a coal-fired steam station, the combustion of coal turns water into steam, and the steam, in turn, drives turbine generators to produce electricity. Power plants today rely either on fossil fuels, nuclear fission, or renewable sources like hydro. The tokamak is an experimental machine designed to harness the energy of fusion. Inside a tokamak, the energy produced through the fusion of atoms is absorbed as heat into the walls of the vessel. Just like in a conventional power plant, a fusion power plant will use this heat to produce steam and then electricity by way of turbines and generators. Scroll down for more about the tokamak. We're not there yet, however. A list of ITER will allow the ITER members to test long pulse operation and many required technologies at reactor scale, but the machine won't be equipped to produce electricity. More here. Okay, so it's already over my head.
Weird. So the walls absorb the heat, and I guess all the more surface area, the more heat or something, and then somehow that gets channeled into pumping your wheel or your gear.
Yeah, once you're outside of the fusion chamber, it's like any other power plant. You're basically, turning you're moving a piece of metal around a magnet or vice versa at high speed that generates, a flow of electrons. Anyway, that's more than I can get into. Let's go back to the storm before the calm, America's discord, the coming crisis of the 2020s, and the triumph beyond. The part that I liked about it was how George Friedman talks about, our current cultural clash without using objectionable terms like SJW. He talks about the technocratic class.
Technocracy.
Yeah, technocracy, and the people who do well in technocracy and have the high status positions are technocrats or technocratic workers. Mm-hmm. And he talks about, the people that left-wingers would call deplorables or Nazis or whatever, he describes as the declining industrial class. And these were, the industrial class are mostly boomers and maybe some Gen Xers at this point. But they're...
He did say white. He did specify that.
Yeah, largely white. Although his prediction is that in spite of all the race baiting that's going on right now, that the children and grandchildren of the declining industrial class, the white ones, will find reason to make common cause with racial minorities. As much as the technocratic class is trying to keep, working class whites and working class people of color at each other's throats, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
According to
he said he called it an unusual coalition, an unexpected coalition.
Yes.
I think. Which that sounds refreshing for sure. And I think it said the millennial and Gen Z is the one younger than millennial.
Yeah.
Would be like in an experience where they tasted the middle class lifestyle where you had maybe a vacation once a year, and the vacuum of that motivates that action and that coalition. So that was interesting. I don't know. He didn't say, he didn't really talk about whether it was collapsey, civilizational collapse sort of stuff, or energy issues. But he did say that the contraction of the economy would happen, I guess, and lead to that. Or was it contraction or just the continuation of wealth inequality?
I don't know. When he was describing the next paradigm, which of course has got to be, imprecise and fuzzy because it hasn't happened yet. I don't really recall him mentioning a balancing out of the distribution of wealth. He seemed to focus more on animosity, between cultural factions. I mean, it would be ridiculous to say that the rich people aren't going to be rich, 20 years from now. They will be.
Yeah. He had quite a bit on the university.
Oh, yeah. That was good stuff, too.
Have to open up their criteria and how it was. I like how he described Harvard's not trying to sound ridiculous or funny, but he just quoted what their one of their goals was. can't remember what it was, but it was kind of essentially saying that we're selecting for, oh yeah, as being a roommate, would people want to be around you?
Right. So what he was talking about there was that after World War II, the government basically charged the elite schools with admitting veterans. And culturally speaking, veterans just didn't fit. They mostly came from the working class, and those upper league, those Ivy League schools were upper class schools. So they really had to change their admissions policy and just their whole philosophy, to admit normal people for a time. But over time, all the elite schools have reverted back to their previous mentality of, yeah, we'll take a whole variety of skin tones, but we want total uniformity in terms of, enculturation and belief systems. And so there was, because it's really difficult to get into these schools, the kids who get in are the ones whose parents have been guiding them, toward that end throughout, like even through elementary school. They're constantly doing after school training, SAT prep, but more importantly, things like internships, unpaid internships, or, volunteer work, Habitat for Humanity, that sort of thing. And that discriminates against working class people who they don't have the leisure of doing unpaid work when they're not at school. They have to do paid work. And so Harvard and, the other elite schools, they have adjusted, they've said they'll give the same sort of credit for working a part-time job after school as they would for doing volunteer work, but they have focused on, personality quizzes and other types of questionnaires and interviews basically just asking the sorts of questions. Are you already the sort of person that we would like to be around, that we would like to have here? They'll ask questions like, what do you plan to do with your free time? And his point is, until you've been to Harvard, you don't know what opportunities will present themselves to you. But what you're doing in answering these questions is assuring the interviewer that you're like them. That even if you don't make as much money as they do, you have the same values, you have the same demeanor, the same, vocal tics and all of it. I'm one of you. So they've changed their admittance process to abide by the letter of the law, but at the same time still discriminate and screen out normal people.
Yeah, there was like if a parent had donated to a politician or a local one, and then their son or daughter interned with that politician, that could be flavored ideally for them. And then he said the letters, the admission letters that prospect students would write. Mm-hmm. Like he said, who knows if the parents coaching them through that.
Yeah, either the parents wrote them or, the parents, the kid writes it, the parent looks at it, marks it all up, says, no, do this, 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 and this. And, a few iterations of that, and the parent might as well have just written it themselves.
Yeah, the book on the Tyranny of the Good, I think you listened to somewhat near that.
Which one?
Blends well with that topic.
Which one?
Sindel, Tyranny of the Good.
Oh, the Tyranny of Merit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Tyranny of Merit is much more focused on the college scene, whereas in George Friedman's book, that was just one chapter. I love Friedman's description, though, of university professors having, the highest paid, highest status part-time jobs around. They teach 1 or 2 classes a semester because they're already an expert in the subject matter that they teach, and because the curriculum is the same from year to year. Prep time approaches 0, and I can attest to that, having TA'd under professors, who were teaching the same material year after year. They did no preparation. And then, you get the whole summer off, and you're making 6 figures. Yay, sign me up. But then, he points out that universities spend absurd amounts of money on, landscaping and groundskeeping and just having super manicured park-like campus. And he said, hey, I went to the community college in New York City, and as far as I can tell, I studied and learned just as well, just in a normal building than I did on the beautiful, sprawling, park-like campuses of places like Columbia. So, yeah, universities, they charge too much for what they're offering. They're sitting on enormously valuable tracts of land that they could sell. They don't admit enough students. The university system as it stands now is crazy unsustainable. Unsustainable, in ways that are so absurd that we just can't see them, because if we could see them, we would tear down the universities tomorrow. Anyway, I'm doing all the talking.
He was talking about...
Keep going. I'm going to draw. You talk.
He was talking about adding more students per class, I think, or was it just admitting more in general?
Admitting more in general, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I went to Wells, and it was a women's school, went co-ed in 2004 or 2006 or something, and the class sizes were so small that I remember philosophy of mind was like just 3 or 4 other people. And with a subject like that, it was great to be able to have the time to ask your question in class. So that, pretty darn lucky of me, but it's like the psychology classes where if the introductory ones are just loaded up and just kind of, cram the numerical knowledge into your brain. It's almost numerical when it's like biology or just words that just memorize the meaning instead of kind of grappling with it and assimilating it. And there, I worked landscaping there after, and it's crazy, like the amount that's spent on mowing the lawn, putting the mulch everywhere, and making it pretty. It felt goofy for sure.
When I was at the University of Missouri at Columbia, there was a laughable sort of scandal in that the university had paid an absurd amount of money for some black squirrels from Australia, which supposedly looked really good against the green grass of the campus. So they paid tens of thousands of dollars for a handful of these black squirrels. They released them on campus, and the squirrels immediately took up residence off campus. So they had to pay people to go, out into the town and campus and, release them on campus. And as often as not, the squirrels would just beat it again.
You need to look beautiful over here. What are you doing?
Yeah. But, come on. Squirrels just, they provide themselves. You don't need to spend money on squirrels.
That is one of the best things at Wells. The squirrels will follow you to class, and they're just so they're like, have a good day, man. One day, one kind of jumped at me, but pretty much see 2 on your walk to class from the commuter parking lot anyway. Saw a black squirrel once. I forget if it was up in Mexico, New York. Pretty sweet.
What did you think of Friedman's notion of the 80-year institutional cycle and the 50-year socioeconomic cycle?
Yeah, that's the most interesting part. I thought by the time I finished the book that I would have that I would be able to explain what makes it 80 years and what makes the socioeconomic one 50 years. But did he really explain the physiology of it and why it takes the timing is like that?
I don't know if he did or not. I'm reminded of Strauss and Howe and their generational theory. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, right, where the change comes slowly with each funeral, and so there's the change with the generation, and then there's ones that are more agile, like with a new technology or a fad that comes out.
Well,
is that what you're
with Strauss and how they posit this these 4 generational archetypes, which occur, in the same order. So what are they? There's the poets, the nomads, the heroes, and the what? Poets? Did I say that twice?
Yeah, he said poets first. Poets, nomads, heroes.
I've got to look it up.
He talked about that in the book?
No, but I was reminded of the Strauss and how.
Oh, okay.
Here we are, generational theory. So go to Wikipedia. Okay. Strauss and how generational theory, also known as the fourth turning theory or simply the fourth turning, describes a theorized recurring generational cycle in American history and global history. It was devised by William Strauss and Neil Howe. According to the theory, historical events are associated with recurring generational personas or archetypes. Each generational persona unleashes a new era called a turning, lasting around 20 to 25 years, in which a new social, political, and economic climate/mood exists. They are part of a larger cycle, or saeculum, a long human life, which usually spans between 80 to 100 years, although some saecula have lasted longer. The theory states that after every saeculum, a crisis recurs in American history, which is followed by a recovery, or a high. During this recovery, institutions and communitarian values are strong. Ultimately, succeeding generational archetypes attack and weaken institutions in the name of autonomy and individualism, which ultimately creates a tumultuous political environment that ripens conditions for another crisis. So their archetypes are the prophet, the nomad, the hero, and the artist. And they always recur in this order. So I'm a Gen Xer, that makes me a nomad. Nomad or reactive generations.
I'm a millennial.
So yeah, millennials are supposed to be the hero generation. They're the ones who are supposed to save us.
There's that. He did say that millennials would be a big part of the pissed off people pushing things.
But what I'm reminded of is, how does this work? This prophet, nomad, hero, artist sequence. What's the mechanism behind it which makes it work? And there isn't really one. There isn't one given. But they just look at history.
He's even saying that it goes in that order?
Yes. Strauss and Howe say that the generational succession always stays in this order.
That's nuts.
Well, but if you read the book and you look at their historical examples, what's that? Say again?
With Strauss and Howe, I'm not sure. Like, if they go through history and show it repeating in that order,
they do.
That would. Okay, wow.
Yeah. So that's why Friedman reminded me of Strauss and Howe. I mean, the fourth turning is very popular with boomers. And I don't know why, because, they're kind of the, in this story, they are the pampered children who don't really do much. But with George Friedman, he does say that the institutional cycle usually begins or ends with a war.
Yeah.
Now,
that's exciting.
Yeah. The 50-year socioeconomic cycle, I'm guessing, is just, it's a function of, it tracks, just the life cycle of a particular generation. That would be my guess as to, what gives rise to this recurring pattern. But if he explains it, I don't know. What's that?
Go ahead. I wasn't sure if that would also be sort of the ebb and flow of labor and technology, like how labor-saving technology creates a level of unemployment that once it gets big enough will create that crisis there. It seems like those are similar. That was another book you had talked about a while ago. I think it was a really long one that you were listening to. It was going through quite detail.
Was it Shoshana Zuboff's book, In the Age of Surveillance Capitalism?
I think it was the technology trap.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I listened to that just recently. Yeah. And I need to re-listen to it
Yeah, it seems like
because I
that
couldn't.
had something to do with the socioeconomic cycle.
Yeah, I cannot begin to reproduce the central argument of the technology trap. I definitely need to listen to it again and probably read it. Let's see. Bibliography. Storm Before the Calm. All right. There's no Wikipedia entry for it, eh? Okay. But Friedman's book went into crazy historical detail and, trying to flesh out the different cycles.
Yeah, I loved that.
I liked it, but I need I don't have really the just, off the top of my head historical knowledge that he does. So I can't really reproduce it in conversation. Les says, interesting conversation. No amount of schooling can teach what to do because they don't teach true philosophy. I had a good trading day today. Cycles are how I make my monies. Empower clinics. I told you before, KMO, you can check the history. But don't worry, there's always another bus to the moon. Well, let's look at Empower clinics, shall we?
Hey, less sick.
Lessick or
I wonder how
Leshik?
to say that right.
We just call him Les at his insistence or his invitation. Let's see. So what was it? Empower clinics?
Yep.
Oh, wow. Yeah, they're... Oh, it's a penny stock. I see. Huh. I tried a little swing trade on a penny stock last week. It was this one, Genius Brands. I've lost money on it already, but I'm just going to sit here and hold on to it until it gets above my, purchase price, and then I'm going to dump it. AMC, this was just my, punch the hedge funders in the nuts purchase. I expected it to go down, and it has. But all the stuff that I, invest in, and it's not a swing trade, it's like an actual investment, they're all still in the green, even though, the market is largely down today. Anyway, that's definitely something I'm not qualified to talk about. Less is more. All righty. Oh, no, I need to have that up, but on the other screen so I can see the chat. Was it George Friedman's book where he talked about how when Europeans came to North America, because the indigenous population didn't see themselves as being one people, they never really had the conceptual framework to couch the conflict with the newcomers as us versus them, because there's no us.
Right. Yep. Yeah, it was in there.
Yeah. And he talked a lot about the Comanche, which he described as an empire. And, because they had vassal states. And that a lot of...
Yeah, those...
Go ahead.
Yeah, I loved those books. He referenced Hemoen, or however you say it, the Comanche Empire. It doesn't sound like he listened to or read, it came out after, I guess. Empire of the Summer Moon. That was really good. I listened to that on Audible.
Ooh.
It talks about a woman who was captured by the Comanche and over time preferred the Comanche culture, forgot English.
Oh, wow.
And when she did come back, when she was taken back, I think she tried to escape a couple times. And that was some horrendous stuff. They talked about the Comanche, when a woman was getting distracted, they felt the woman was getting distracted with her baby, they would get rid of the baby. I won't say what they did because it will probably block your video, but absolutely horrible stuff.
Yeah. Did you ever see The Ballad of Buster Scruggs? Coen Brothers film that they made for Netflix? Oh, well. Never mind then. It's not It's not a reference. You've surely seen.
I'll see if I can add that to my list.
You've surely seen a meme from it, though.
Ballad of
Buster.
Buster?
Here, I'll find the meme because I'm sure.
Oh, there it is. That guy from Oh Brother Where Art Thou? He's great.
Oh Brother Where Art Thou? Who are you looking at?
The goofy Weasley guy. It's maybe it's I don't know his name, but I know it's not Liam Neeson, James Franco, Tim Blake Nelson, Tom Waits. Oh, maybe it is Tom Waits because he's that Joker. Maybe copied him. He sort of looks like him.
Huh.
I don't know.
I don't remember Tom Waits being in the Ballad of Buster Scruggs. But anyway, there's James Franco who's about to get hung, and there's a wild-eyed, white-haired dude, on the scaffold next to him who's also about to get hung, and that guy is all wide-eyed and looking crazy, and James Franco looks over at him and smiles and says, "First time?" Because his character had been unsuccessfully hung like the day before. He's being hung twice in 2 days. First time. Know your meme? Here we are.
There's some good suggestions below that. Those westerns, like newer made western movies, are a lot of times pretty appealing.
Can be. All right. Well, back to George Friedman and the cycle. What is it? The storm before the calm.
Storm before the calm.
Yeah, his theory predicts that the 2020s are going to be really tumultuous, and they're going to be filled with animosity, and the technocratic class is going to be they will absolutely refuse to see any flaw in their own worldview, and they will establish their own superiority, or we can already see this. They will just insist that they are morally superior to the declining industrial class, and we already see that happening. But it's only 2021, so we have the entire decade of things getting worse before they get better, according to Friedman. Like hopefully the president elected in 2028 will be the first president of the new cycle. Not because they have the answer, just because they happen to be president when the new cycle begins. But they'll get to take credit for it. And the last president of the cycle, whoever gets elected in 2024, will take the blame for all that's gone wrong. They'll be the 21st century Herbert Hoover.
Yeah, they'll try to recreate the old solutions. Yeah, he says that the president for the new cycle is just kind of like the midwife. He midwifes midwifes it into the next thing. But they're not like pulling the reins, they're just sort of doing what needs to happen.
Hey, I'm going to talk to Les here for a second. Les, YouTube allowed you to post "I'm a Polish Jew." I'm surprised. I thought they would censor that, but they didn't. Now, maybe that I've read it aloud, the whole video is going to get nuked here in a second, but we'll see. All right. You know what? I cannot learn and talk at the same time, so I'm just going to fire up Clip Studio Paint and work there. Alrighty. The software is starting. Please wait.
Would you say you can't learn and write, so you're doing something less demanding for your hand?
I was drawing in Krita, which is a program that I just downloaded last night. And it's
the new thing that you're trying to learn.
Yeah, it's very complicated. So I'm just going to go back to the program that I know for now, because I can work and talk with this one.
Yeah, you can use more muscle memory.
Yeah. Alrighty. Let's see. Ink. Let's be more specific.
Yeah, I wish I could remember the historical parts that he goes through. He had a bit of one of George Washington's. Oh yeah, it was his farewell address, wasn't it?
Say more. I don't remember yet.
He was, and he didn't. I think in George Washington's farewell address, he advised against parties or a two-party system, but he didn't quote that part in the book. I don't remember what it was, so I'd probably be good to go back and listen to those at some point and maybe even take some notes, because I love to have historical notes to dig out.
Yeah, with a book like Friedman's, typically I will, even though I'm listening to it on Audible, I'll also buy the Kindle version so that I can, I have access to the table of contents and I can look up specific quotes and things like that.
Was it you that said the Kindle version is discounted if you get the Audible version?
That's usually how it works with Amazon, because, Amazon owns Audible.
Yeah. I wanted to do that with this book, I think, and it was still like $10. Does that mean that it was discounted, you think? I wasn't sure if it was showing the discount rate.
Let me tell you how much I paid for The Storm Before the Calm. Let's see. Go to my orders. Search all your orders. Storm Before the Calm. Oh, it doesn't list the price that I paid. Huh. All right, go to order details. Huh. No, I paid $15.89 for it. Is that the asking price?
Yeah, it seems like around where it would be for the Kindle.
Huh. Actually, it lists the Kindle at $12.99 now, so apparently I didn't save any money. Interesting. All right.
It looks like I noted some stuff down in the beginning. He was talking about the geography of the South, how I think, let's see here. I wrote, the geography of the South was conducive to the institution of slavery more so than the North due to the Appalachian Mountains location. The mountains were closer to the coast in the north, so the northern colonies were unable to have large plantations with many workers, but instead small holdings with a small number of helpers. The southern colonies were united with the northern ones and revolting against the British, but had a different relationship with them. Yeah, they were more dependent on selling their goods to the textile machine. The southern colonies were dependent on the British Empire buying their exports. The northern colonies were more densely inhabited, and that had its own sort of invites different cultures and governments and institutions. So that was cool to get the metabolism of the institutional cycle, I guess.
Yeah. So did you have any criticisms of the book?
Not really. Just the end with his conclusions were, I mean, yeah, he didn't want to predict much. I guess I was expecting more specific prediction than there was.
He got burned. Well, he burned himself. In either the late 80s or the early 90s, he wrote a book called The Coming War with Japan. He thought the U.S. and Japan were going to fight a war. And obviously we didn't. And I think he's probably a little gun-shy on hyper-specific predictions like that these days.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, shoot. What is this? Oh. Okay. Fortunately, I haven't gotten very far. Okay. So my perpetual lament here is, I'm drawing on the wrong layer right now. My lament is I'm drawing on the wrong kind of layer. I need a vector layer, not a raster layer.
Should have like a ritual where before you touch it down, you always look at whatever layer selection or however that was, however it is.
Yeah, that would be a wise thing to do. Not exactly my style. Let's see. So, if I have a criticism of Friedman's book, it's that he even admits it in the book, actually. He says he used to be really interested in computing, and about 10 years ago, he just decided he wasn't interested anymore. He didn't care. The younger, nimbler minds would follow that, and he would just pay attention to other stuff. And that really comes through, in this book. He doesn't really care much about technology. He talks a lot about the microchip and how it's generated a lot of new businesses, but now it's a mature technology. It's not really dynamic or exciting anymore. But yeah,
he said that.
Go ahead.
The microchip was its entire. There was a whole business, or what is it, institutional or socioeconomic cycle that it sort of helped centralize administrative stuff for business and governments.
Well, that would definitely be on the socioeconomic side. Anything, having to do with technology. But, particularly talking about the 2020s, if we do get commercially viable fusion, that's going to be a very different 2020s, a different decade than if we don't. And if we have some big breakthroughs in, battery technology, off-grid storage, high temperature superconductivity, these are things that have, people have been working on them for decades, and they have been elusive. And when they show up, they're going to have a great big impact. And Friedman just doesn't seem to care about any of that stuff.
Mm.
He's interested in history, and that's great because I'm interested in history too. So, and I can go to other people to theorize about technology.
Yeah, he was saying that he didn't expect the microchip or the next there to be another phase of it that would be that much more tumultuous, innovatingly wise. Making up some words. But it was interesting. He said that, when a new technology comes out, people tend to blame it for the social strife of the time.
Right. Particularly communication technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, that's just an effect of people not living long enough normally to see multiple technological revolutions. And so they blame technology for stuff that happens repeatedly, regardless of the technical state of the nation at the time of some crisis.
Reminds me of the shifting baseline syndrome, I guess, in some way.
Which is what? I don't know that.
That's like a environmentalist term to hit people with. It's like your grandmother remembers more biodiversity or woods or the stream never going dry in the year, and the next generation never knew that it becomes regular for a newer generation to see that stream as it goes dry every now and then, So it's sort of the baseline shifts, and the species forgets what normal was for a particular environment.
Gotcha.
So that one's kind of like opposite or inverse or something. I'm a couple hours into The Wizard and the Prophet now.
Oh, good. Right on.
That narrator is read by Bronson Pinchot. He flows through the brain well.
Huh. I can't bring his voice to mind.
There's one guy that I've seen on a couple books that I've listened to that his voice is so like, I don't know if over, like he's trying too hard, and it distracts me from the content. Let me see. The writing's too small, but it was the guy who read Against the Grain. I think he also read Too Much Magic.
Oh. I shouldn't be surprised if there's an audiobook of Too Much Magic, but that one I actually read in Dead Tree form.
Huh. My father-in-law recommended The 12th Man. It's based on true events of, I think it's a Norwegian soldier there was like a ship, and they had a mission to destroy strategic points in the Germans' artillery or something in World War II. And the story of how he got away is amazing, because the town is helping him bit by bit, and he's like going through this Arctic weather, and his toe gets blown off, and he gets gangrene, and he has to cut his toe off. So that on Netflix, that was really good flick to watch.
Yikes!
And I got the Audible, the book of it, because I want to learn what actually happened. Because in the beginning they said the most remarkable parts of the story are the parts that actually happened. So there are 3 parts of the movie that I was like, okay, no, that's full. So I gotta see.
See, other good audio. You know, I listened to a very long series of military comical sci-fi. It's like military sci-fi comedy, I guess you could call it. It's by Craig Allenson. The first book. What's the first one called? Columbus Day is the first book in the series. And it's read by a narrator named R.C. Bray, and he's amazing. I mean, he's not just reading a book. He's a one-man show. He's acting out the whole thing, you know, with different character voices, and it's pretty amazing stuff.
That's the best.
Yeah, he's great. Do you know the book or the movie, The Girl with All the Gifts?
Nope.
Oh. Well, then it won't mean anything to you that the author who wrote that has got a new series of books that are in the, you know, post-industrial, post-technological future. And there is a bit of tech that's still working, but, you know, nobody knows how it works, or almost nobody knows how it works. And the people who possess it, you know, they have great social standing, and they don't have to work as hard as other people. And they've crafted a sort of little quasi-religion around it.
It sounds a little familiar. I might have read the book description or something, because I was looking for, like last fall, I was really into that. I listened to that genre, like post-industrial, post-technological society.
So Mike Carey is the author. And
World made by hand. Oh, but it was girls. What?
well, the previous, the thing that you might have heard of was The Girl with All the Gifts. But the new series, it starts with The Book of Coley. And apparently the third one is out. Is that right? Oh my goodness, I have to go to Audible right now and get it.
How do you spell Coley?
Koli. Let's see, Mike Carey.
Oh, that sounds appealing.
It's good.
An unrecognizable world, overgrown forests filled with choker trees, deadly vines, and seeds that will kill you when you stand. Nature gets pissed off and starts kicking
the
ass.
trees.
I got a fetish for that.
Well, the trees are deadly because they had been genetically engineered back when such things were still possible.
Right. It kind of reflects or reciprocates what happens on the landscape. Like sumac is a good example. Like if you clear cut an area, any invasive they can establish quickly in full sun is gonna get a good grip quick, and anything else that wants to move in is gonna have a hard time. So you kind of see, if you do a clear cut, there's a monoculture of nothing, and then something moves in, and it's like Phragmites around here in the wetlands.
I like monoculture of nothing. Monoculture of bare dirt.
Yeah.
I just posted a link to
sounds good, though.
The Book of Coley. I've just posted a link to the audiobook. It's in the chat. Or it should be. I never look at the actual YouTube chat. I just see the restream chat. Oh, and we've been ignoring Les. Let's see. Oh, and Parker's here too. Okay. Sorry, folks. Let's see.
Whoops.
Parker says, hello, KMO. I say, hello, Parker. Parker says, I'm listening in. Friedman admits he's old. Old news. Yes, Friedman, he does admit that he's old. He's not interested in tech anymore. He's interested in history. Friedman, Zion, Kaplan are all one and the same. They used to be. Like Zion used to be, Peter Zion used to be George Friedman's protege. And I can tell they are still reading each other's books, but they never mention one another, and they never, you never see conversations between them. Let's see. Les says, Parks, I made $200K today. Listen to Friedman if you like. Parker says, wow, that's crazy. Les says, sorry, I made a mistake. I'm aggressive. It's my nature. He says, my MIT friend asked me what 5 companies he should invest in now, but now I feel like I'm TAI. What's that? Oh, TAI. Let's see. TAI acronym. Travelers Aid International, the Asphalt Institute, Total Aircraft Inventory, Threat Analysis Index. 48 more rows in this chart. Think about it. Transportation Security Administration. Oh, that's TSA. Let's see. Turkish Aerospace Industries. The Academy is. Les, I don't know what your TIA is. TAI. Sorry. Les says, Parks, do you really need the monies? You seem good. KMO needs a donation, but I'm just too bastardly cheap. I'll give KMO something later. Yeah, he offered to send me cigars, but I don't smoke cigars. Let's see. Don't worry, Parks. I'm drunk. I'm just like you. My wallet is still made of leather. Mine isn't. Mine's metal. Les says, sorry, I'm pretentious. Parker says, I'm quite impoverished. Not in there much of it. Therein not much in it. What? Therein not much in it, so to speak.
It's fun to try to say. Therein not much in it. Therein not much in it.
Yes, I like you, Parker, says Les. I want you to talk more. Well, hey, anybody else who wants to join this conversation is welcome to do so. I need to pick up the stylus again. So let's see. Background ink. I need a new layer. There we go. Alrighty, let's go with a slightly lighter shade of black.
How did Book of Eli hit you with Denzel Washington?
It's kind of a one-note gimmick of a film when you look at it in hindsight, but I thought it was well done. I enjoy watching Gary Oldman play, ridiculous, over-the-top villains, and he certainly is one in this film. The idea that he could use a King James version of the Bible to build ultimate political power, I don't quite buy that.
Yeah, it's pretty magical.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first time I sort of had a date.
What's that?
My first date with my wife, where I was around her family, there was a huge snowstorm, and so we were inside watching that movie, and it was pretty good, pretty enjoyable, and it strokes their family's traditional Christian values. So whatever.
Wait, what was their response to it? Favorable or unfavorable?
Favorable, because it shows kind of the ugliness of humans, which from the technocracy view of reality and humans, you don't get that much.
Well, the part of the premise for Book of Eli was that the people in the post-collapse world blamed religion for all the conflagrations and confrontations, and they blamed Christianity for their woes. Let's see.
I haven't seen it in a while. I guess I forgot that. They actually didn't let my wife watch Bambi when she was younger because it was like anti-hunter sort of thing.
Bambi's mother does get killed. That's funny.
And apparently my mom said that after I watched it, I was like crying and asked her if she was going to die.
Oh. Let's see.
Parker says, I'm also packing up a couple things I sold. A scarf for $3 and a crown molding jig for $10. Crown molding jig. Not much, but I'm going to go and ship them off soon.
Yeah. I need to go to the post office. I promised to mail somebody a comic. That was a couple weeks ago, and I've been waiting for a nice day to walk to the post office, and there hasn't been one yet.
How long do you walk to the post office?
Not long. It's probably, it's less than half an hour both ways.
Is it slushy over there now? We've had another good snowing this morning here.
Well, the snow's coming down hard right now. The parking lot is completely covered. I think it was supposed to get up to 33 today. I don't know if it did or not. Alexa, what's the temperature?
Right now, it's 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Tonight, expect a low of 26 degrees.
So we're still below freezing.
This might answer your question. For Bellows Falls, Vermont, there are currently no weather alerts.
Wow, that's good to know.
Is your slush safe?
I'm not sure.
All right.
That's you seem to get what I get here a few hours after. It was like pretty surprising the way it was coming down in the morning here, and I get to play on the snowblower when I get home.
Are you near? What's the city I'm thinking of? You're in upstate New York, right?
Right.
Are you anywhere near Syracuse?
Yeah, it's like a 40-minute drive northeast.
Okay.
I'm in Auburn.
Yeah, I think we've had this
Not
conversation
even.
before. I don't have a mental image of Auburn. What's happening?
It's southwest of Syracuse.
Okay.
There's a lot of cities on the northern, well, I guess the ends of the Finger Lakes, north and south. Like Cayuga, northern end is Seneca, sort of a city, and then Ithaca is the big one on the southern end of Cayuga. And then east of that is Owasco, and Auburn's on the north end of Owasco. On the southern end is Moravia, and there's some cultural lore over there of a man who was romantic with a pig.
Great.
Yeah.
My day has been enriched. Let's see.
Les says, I want to know, what are the worst experiences in your lives? That is a question.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Getting divorced was my worst experience.
So that would be like brain-wise. I saw on Twitter earlier, what's the most pain you've ever been in? And I thought, you know what? I don't think I've, especially after watching The 12th Man, I don't think I've ever been in excruciating for a long time pain.
Fortunately, I've never been tortured. I'd like to keep it that way. The most intense pain I
It's
ever
weird how-
experienced was completely voluntary. Was when I got my nipples pierced. That was the most intense moment of pain I ever experienced.
Yeah, was that like pretty quick, or was it like, it won't go?
Oh, it hurt after, but the crazy intensity of pain was very short.
Yeah, the nerves receptors on there are pretty crazy.
Yeah. Indeed.
Let's see, worst experiences in my life. I guess it would be when my dad became a quadriplegic, because he was one way, pretty animate, doing everything with his hands, and then his hands kind of, when he was in the ditch, were curled up like an insect, and then he was flown to the ICU, and seeing him with something down his mouth to help him breathe, and he was just squirming around, and he was so drugged up he didn't remember that experience. But seeing him like that, I guess that was the worst experience of my life so far.
That's pretty heavy. When was that?
That was 2012.
How did it happen?
Yeah, I was doing homework on the deck. It was nice. It was in the fall, and he had retired. He had a business across the street with heavy equipment, and he was painting. He was doing some painting, so the fumes had messed with him, and he ended up. It was like, I think my mother went to bed, and he wasn't coming back, so I let the dog out. We had a Weimaraner, good character. I thought he would sometimes he would fall asleep somewhere, and thought the dog would wake him up, but the dog came back. I was like, hey Mom, I think we should go look for him. So we went outside, and we were looking around, and Casey wasn't answering his phone, and he yelled out. So he was on a bicycle. I mean, the ditch is deep enough to where that amount of damage happened, and the next morning there was water in the ditch above. So I don't know if that would have prevented him from having an injury with the water. Maybe he was pushing it, but I'm not sure if it would have had him drown. So yeah, you like that, Les?
So
Yeah, I've told that story so many times, and I guess I kind of callous it over a little bit. But yeah.
well, I'm still a little fuzzy on it. What happened to him?
He was on a bicycle. He said he had tools he was going over to the shop with, and we don't know what happened. So he was on a bicycle and fell into the ditch.
Wow.
And however you fall to do that much damage, he was quadriplegic after that. He was able to walk with two people or one strong one on the side, so kind of maintained his agility for a while, but he ran out of long-term care, so we don't have as much help. So he just stands for a little bit, and then we put him in bed every night. And he's got like a little bit of movement in his fingers, and he can pinch a drink, and we attach silverware to his hand, so he's able to feed himself. But that was a big shift.
He's a quadriplegic,
He took
but
care of everything.
He can move his arms enough to eat, or how does he feed himself?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, he's 3.5 out of the 4
I see.
paralyzed limbs. But so, yeah, he's able to pinch a drink with his arms, and we have these braces that we attach silverware into it, and he can scoop stuff out of a bowl.
That's pretty heavy. I hate to use hippie terms like that, but it applies in this instance.
There's that word again. Why are things so heavy in the future? Is there a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull?
What's that from? Is that Back to the Future?
Yeah, Back to the Future.
Okay. Sounds like
there's a song that starts off with that, so it's kind of soldered into my brain. And the guy I'm working with loves that movie, so whenever that song comes on, he likes to hit repeat and like just keep going back to it.
All right.
So Les said, KMO and Quest. So much for global warming. They got an argument against that. They call it global weirding. And I don't know, the polar jet stream just wigs out and poops stuff out lower, so I don't know.
Yeah, we're definitely getting some noteworthy weather. Well, not here, but in Texas.
It's interesting so many people have moved to Texas from California. I wonder how that's hit some of those, hit that demographic.
They brought their sinful, licentious ways with them, and that's why God is visiting Texas with plagues.
There you go.
There's the ticket.
Parker said, whatever the worst experience was of mine, I'm certain I don't want to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Les that sent us down these really unpleasant memory lanes. What's your trauma, Les?
Les says, Parks, I like you because you're a leftist. I'm a rightist. Les said, my question answered. Les, yep, he's talking about my dad. He survived. Yeah, he's pretty much all there. There's just the injury on the spinal cord got high enough to where it affected his breathing. So he was on a ventilator for a time, and he doesn't talk as quickly. And I'm not sure if that's like the mind or I think it's just. So he'll talk slower, so it might seem like he's not as quick, but generally just sitting there doing nothing, you're if you don't use it, you lose it. So he's less alert. Parker says, I am more leftist than rightist, but I still believe in capitalism and gun rights. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at, too.
Have you been following the whole Gina Carano debacle?
Sounds familiar. I forget. Is that someone in Biden's administration?
No. She's a former mixed martial artist, and now she's an actor. And she plays Cara Dune on The Mandalorian, or she did. And then she tweeted...
Oh, the Disney person.
Yeah, she tweeted that being a Republican, in this day and age is like being a Jew in Nazi Germany. And Lucasfilm fired her for that, and her talent agency dropped her for that. And she's going to be making a movie with Ben Shapiro. She did a long interview with Ben Shapiro yesterday.
Oh, cool. I'll check that out.
Yeah, but she's not like a long time right winger. She's like recently woke to the right. She's recently
just came out of the closet.
No, it's not that she's come out of the closet. It's like, when she started observing this behavior in Hollywood, the woke signaling and the bullying, then she got, I don't want to say radicalized, but she got right wing woke. Like she's more right wing now than she would have been if nobody had made a big deal out of anything.
Yeah. Did you watch the interview?
I started to, and I intend to finish it. There was nothing wrong with it. It's just I ran out of time.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw a couple posts. She sure is party. Pretty interesting.
I tried to watch some of her older movies. They're not very good. It's not her fault. I mean, they're just not very good movies. I have not seen Haywire. That's directed by Steven Soderbergh. So that will definitely be good, and I should watch it at some point.
Jim D says, sounds like I wandered in during the heavy.
Jim!
Sorry, man.
No, blame Les.
Yeah, he's sick. Les said, doesn't matter. I'm here to help you all. If you want monies, I can give you good stocks. I'm trying to be positive here. That's cool. My trauma? What's your father's name? My father's name is Richard. His middle name's Carl.
So Jim D.
Jimmy said, me too. Lefties need guns too.
Yeah. I knew some guys in New York. They were friends of Olga's. And they like to go upstate and shoot guns, and they called themselves Blue Necks.
Oh.
But yeah, not every leftist is allergic to guns.
Yeah, I had a good shooting, what do you call it? Go shooting with my father-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
And I did some slow motion video, which is pretty awesome on the iPhone. We were shooting the little clay pigeons.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it was the first time I got to shoot a 10 gauge, a 12 gauge, and a 10 gauge.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, 12 gauge. Did you see the video I did where I got to shoot the AR-15?
I think I actually watched that like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
One of your sons was in it.
No, none of my sons are in it.
Okay.
Young men about my son's age, but my sons live in Maryland. But yeah, first I shot the AR-15, and then I got to shoot a 12 gauge shotgun, and the AR-15 is nothing compared to the 12 gauge shotgun. The AR-15 is like a little toy, but the shotgun, It's got some kick.
Yeah, establish a bruise on the shoulder. And I guess I don't know. I don't know if that works the same as like when you work out, it breaks the muscle tissue down and then reestablishes stronger. I don't know if it establishes like back the same way.
I don't know. I was wearing a thick coat the day that I fired the shotgun, so I didn't get any bruises in my shoulders.
I had no shirt on like a true redneck.
Right on. I'm certainly manly, but it was in Vermont. And it was in the cold part of the year, so I was dressed appropriately.
And there's something about being with a rightist, I guess, as Les would say, that I'm more comfortable because my sense of humor isn't going to be. I feel like I can talk about more, but there are certain things that you can't when it comes to like religion and talking about Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's not a whole lot to be said about Jesus that's of much use to me these days.
Les said, Richard Carl, I'll pray for the king.
I saw that, and I don't know what that means.
He's talking about my dad.
Oh, okay.
Jim D said, I know some heavily arsenaled lefties myself. Les said, no one prays anymore. Parker said, it seems like those names should be reversed to my ear. Carl Richard sound better than Richard Carl. Jim D, lots pray. Les, I like the sound of Richard Carl with an E at the end. Jim D, what bruises you make makes you stronger. Les said, Jesus is king. Yeah. Yeah, I just started a physical book from the library, Bowling Alone. It's really hard to get through because it's so, like, it's got charts and numbers about trends here and there. There was one chapter where I had to just skip to the end to go to the conclusion because he was talking about numbers.
Bowling, is that Robert Putnam? Is that who wrote that?
Yeah, and it's written in 2000, so it's like, it really leaves you wanting because there's a whole 20 years, most of my life that isn't in there.
So much worse now. Turn of the century, those are the golden days. You may have been bowling alone, but you couldn't be fired for a dumb tweet.
Yeah, my friends and I used to go on the internet, and there was like something called Joe Fish. It was just this, they call it Flash website, like where you kind of interact with the cartoon, and you can click it, and he says dumb stuff.
What brought that to mind?
Well, in the book he was talking about, I just finished where he said the internet brought in all generations, and he was talking about how the phone, the Graham Bell or whoever, the business, the industry, the phone industry expected it to be used as like maybe a play what you want sort of thing, like send a request in and then play some song of whatever you want. But it ended up, it wasn't used like that at all. Like they didn't want people to just talk to each other on the phone, but that's what happened. People would not get together as much and call each other to catch up. And then they said like in the 70s or 90s, once it was pretty much everyone had a phone, if there was the phone went down in part of this building and people felt lonely just because there was no phone.
It's funny. There's only two people who ever call me on the phone, other than, spammers. It's my mother and Kevin Lynn. Everybody else that I talk to either on Zoom or WhatsApp or maybe Signal. Tried to explain.
Yeah, grandmas, and I think just grandmas. We have one grandma that we talk to on the phone, especially now with COVID. The other grandma is not scared of COVID, so.
My mother does not seem to be the least bit scared of COVID. All right. Bowling Alone props. Tough book, says Jim D.
Yeah, I didn't think it'd be that boring.
Bowling Alone is just a referenced book. Yes, oft-quoted Little Red. I haven't read it. Never even occurred to me to read it. Jim D says, I would like to see a more narrative version. Oh, just come out and say it, man. You just want the movie.
Would that mean just going through his conclusions without dragging your brain through all the statistics and the numbers and well, this could be, but then this over here, maybe not.
Microwaving my coffee. One of my filthy habits.
Some people are very against microwaving coffee.
Yeah, well, I'm very against tepid coffee. So.
Yeah, I'm more against tepid coffee than not microwaving it. I actually am so obsessive. I have Contigo, which is this little mug that is the best preserver of the heat I've ever had. And
I have one as well, although I insist that I be read as a long E.
How so?
Contigo.
I heard someone say Michael Pollan recently.
Nope, it's pollen.
That's what I thought. But I'll heat the inside of this to-go mug with boiling water. I'll pour it in there. I make my coffee with this little pitcher that has boiling water, and then I'll put the coffee in there after it's super hot, and then I'll put the top on so it'll stay hot for hours. Yeah. And then I'll pour it in this little cup that was my grandparents. We're all up on the etiquette stuff, so it's like a really nice cup from the best of elephant's tusks or whatever. And I just pour little bits of it in at a time so that it stays hot.
Yep, I have a Contigo mug. I bought it at Target I think it was in Pasadena, California. It was when I was out in LA for Politicon. It would have been 2018. Yeah, I think so. It's been a while.
Politicon, a conference on political science, geopolitics, and all that stuff.
Oh, you never heard of Politicon? All right.
Heard the word, but I never really thought about it, I guess.
It's the unpolitical convention. It's neither right nor left, supposedly, but it's pretty left. It was started by Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks and some other people.
Oh, yeah.
So I saw Cenk walking around at Politicon when I was there, but I didn't talk to him. At the time, I still respected him. I think he's totally gone off the deep end now.
After Jim said he'd like to see a more narrative version, he said, "This is wrong. Why?"
Oh, I said, you just want to watch the movie. And I was
What's that?
I said, you just want to watch the movie, admit it. He says, this is wrong. Why?
Oh, right.
Nothing wrong with good movies.
Said exactly. Flesh out the stats with real lived experience shared in a narrative form.
Yep. Although that moment's kind of past. I mean, it's much worse now than it was when Putnam was writing that book.
With big stars on the big screen.
Fuck yeah.
And lots of special effects.
And explosions. Explosions and
Michael
titties.
Boom.
Alrighty.
Les said, "Hey KMO, how can I make you money without actually giving you my money? What if you just invest, let's see, 0.0001% of whatever you have into my ideas?"
Yeah, you can hit me up. I mean, Les, you gave me one pointer, and I forget what it was, but I investigated it. And it was a Canadian company, and I can't buy Canadian companies through Webull, so I would have to open a different brokerage account, which is tedious, but I'm willing to do it, I suppose. Bitcoin has been very kind to me. I've put a total of $76 into Bitcoin over the past few months, and that $76 has turned into like $250, I think. Stocks.
So, Les, do you not have to worry about health insurance? You probably don't have it, and just do that. And I'm not sure if you live in. Does he live in the U.S.?
No, he lives in Poland.
Right. Okay.
What if you just invest 0.0001% of whatever you have into my ideas? Yeah, I mean, sure. I'm living pretty much on the edge, but I do manage to sock away like about $100 in Bitcoin and the ETFs that I'm investing in. Les, you need to take some portion of your winnings and purchase a headset so that you can join us on these calls. You can get one for $10. I don't know if you're Mac or PC. The Mac version will be a little bit more expensive, but it sounds like you could probably afford it.
Parker said, "I listened to a Michael Pollan interview about his piece on caffeine. Oh, cool. Near the end, he mentioned how addiction is not a bad thing in the case of coffee or whatever."
I agree.
It is really a different view. I've never heard anyone framing addiction as anything but negative. Yeah, that was one of the coolest parts, because he was saying that we can't really test what coffee's effects on culture or American culture are, because the baseline is caffeinated, and it affects your body for so long, like 24 hours. It expects it. You're starting to go down by the time you have it the next morning or whatever.
Oh, really?
Neurochemicals. Yeah. I forget how that works. Wish I could.
I remember when I was
recall the whole
in
thing.
grad school, I was so addicted to coffee that sometimes I would come home in the afternoon, make a pot of coffee, drink a big cup, and then take a nap, because I was one, I had quite a tolerance to it, and two, by that time in the mid-afternoon, the morning coffee had long since worn off, and the caffeine withdrawal was starting to kick in, and the only thing keeping me awake was the discomfort of the caffeine withdrawal. So I drink a little coffee, withdrawal goes away, I go to sleep. These days I drink 3/4 decaf.
So that's 1/4 caffeinated?
Or less, sometimes 1/5.
Oh, that's what my wife does. She also drinks matcha, which is like, I think someone said it has more caffeine, but it doesn't feel like it, and I think it lasts longer. You don't get as severe a crash or a crash at all.
That's the Brazilian
more
thing
expensive,
that you
so I
drink
just
with
drink
you drink with a metal straw.
I think the matcha root comes from Japan, and this
Oh,
store,
I'm thinking
in our
mate then.
neighborhood's case.
Yeah, mate is what I'm thinking of. It's a Brazilian thing.
Les said Cenk Uygur is a douche, and I pretty much agree.
I'm no fan.
The
that's for sure.
Les's ideas fund? Question mark. Jim D said, I guess caffeine addiction is pretty benign. Done it myself. Yeah, Les, headset. Les says, yes, but I'm a Luddite and a lurker. I used that word earlier. It's a good one.
It is. Let's
Lurk.
see.
Lurk at that. Lurk at me meow. Parker said, I think a lot of people would not call it an addiction just because they don't want to think of themselves as addicted. Yeah, I'm totally addicted. When I go camping, because I can't, it's really annoying to do the elaborate pour over thing I do. I should probably just like wean myself off of caffeine, which I do every now and then. I'll have like half a cup and then half of that the next day for a couple days, that really small amount, and then on maybe the third or fourth day without having it, I won't have the headache anymore. I've also substituted kombucha.
For caffeine?
And yeah, and it would prevent the headache.
Huh.
That was when I drank less coffee though. With the amount that I drink now, I have to wean it for at least 3 days.
Yeah, the second day's the worst.
Yeah, it's like beer in the afternoon or, 5 o'clock when you're supposed to. It's like, why not? Why would I not be caffeinated? And it does, I think Pollen was talking about how it was affecting people, like the way they think and the amount that they write. And yeah, definitely makes you feel some endorphins getting juiced out.
Les, is somebody pressuring you to send me money? I haven't pressured you. I haven't even mentioned it. Let's see. Congratulations, you've received 100 messages today with a Restream chat. All right, Parker's off to the post office. He probably won't hear me say goodbye, Parker, because you won't be here when I get back. There's just 10 minutes left in this stream. And I got very little done today. This is not good.
Well, thanks for having me on to talk about that book.
Any final thoughts?
Than the alternative.
Back to Friedman for a second. Any final? I mean, do you recommend it? Is it worth your time?
Oh, I would totally recommend it. Yeah, I think it's a really good tool or hammer to think the world with and look for nails. Not the only hammer, but
right. All right. Well, Ben Rubber, always good to hear from you, and I'm always interested to hear what you're taking in next, be it podcasts, books, videos, movies.
Right. Yeah, I still have to summarize the Hoagland. Or no, you're going to have him on instead.
What was his thing again?
Founding Finance, the book.
All right. What's his first name?
William.
Let's see. I'm gonna go to Amazon.
He's on Twitter.
William. How do you spell Hoagland?
Hoge land.
Gotcha. The Whiskey Rebellion. Founding Finance. All right. I'm not buying it, but I'm putting it in my shopping cart. Along with the Garnier.
I could send you my notes. It would be the most thorough, excretion of the book. I Usually when I try to summarize things, I always forget something.
Yeah.
Or, start in a spot that makes me have to backtrack and confuse everyone.
Let's see. Founding finance. Nope, there's no audible version. What do we got here? Les says, yes, but I always feel guilty because I'm rich and you aren't, and yet there's no discernible discrepancy in intellect. Jim D says, Les, money don't mean nothing. The smartest folks I know are flat broke. Les says, tell that to my mother. It's a paradox of time and space. Moms are generally not the best source of values. Oh. Les says, I don't understand it myself. Jim says, they are, as a class, a bit biased towards success. Well, yeah. We all want our kids to live well. At least I do. And we don't want them to be living in our basements or mooching off us when we're in our old age.
Parker said the podcast he was going to listen to, the Kevin Rowe Show from February 14th. This is Your Brain on Sleep, Supplements, Sunlight, and Stimulation. That sounds interesting. Stanford neuroscientist Andrew Huberman.
That's interesting. Huberman's a very familiar name. Where have I heard that recently? Jim D says, they are, as a class, a bit biased towards success. It keeps you out of their basement later. Yeah. Don't KMO beat me to the basement punch. Yeah. I don't even have a basement, so my kids would totally be SOL if they thought they were going to live in it. All right.
Yeah, I think Michael Pollan said that he goes to the bathroom 3 times throughout the night. And he said that he drinks coffee every morning and maybe in the afternoon. That definitely does it. I noticed when I went off of caffeine for over a week, I couldn't make it almost the whole night without having to get up and go to the bathroom. And that helps, you break off that thick membrane of sleep.
Well, I should touch wood before I say this, appease the gods, but I almost never get up in the night to take a piss.
Oh, wow. All right, I'm going to head out. My mother is calling me.
Well, good talking to you.
Take
Stay
care.
well. Bye. Oh, shoot. All right. I would invite anybody else to join me, but I'm just going to close out the call, I think. We're near the end. Alrighty. Stop.
The recording has stopped.
And there we go. So Les, I usually have a little bit of extra money right around the middle of the month. So in mid-March, hit me up with a recommendation where I could put a bit of dosh. Let's see. Background. What's going on? Oh, that's what's going on. KMO, I can give you a good 10x stock. How long would I need to hold it to get that 10x benefit? Nope, bigger than that. Let's see. Uranium, nickel, and so those would be mining companies. Alexa, what's the temperature?
Right now, it's 29 degrees Fahrenheit. Tonight, expect a low of 28 degrees.
Okay. I might walk to the store. But first. What have we got here? Let me think for you. I have a few for you. Uranium, nickel, and... Okay, so I have to think now. 10 times is very difficult. Of course, you're smart and you asked the right question. Time frame. Yes, mining companies, KMO. Noble minerals, nickel. ISO energy, uranium. Goviex, uranium, KMO. Be happy. That's when you make your best vids. When I'm happy... Well, I sure want to be happy. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Yes, mining companies, KMO. Noble minerals. Let's see. All right. Why is it not searching? Come on. All right. Oh, here we go. There we are. So it looks like we've got NLPXF or NOB. Is this a brand new company? Why is there not more history? Huh. When I go to church next time, I'll pray for your success. It worked for me. All right. Well, I won't reject it. All right. So, Noble Mineral looks like it's right around 17 cents. What when should I sell? What price should I be shooting for a sale? No, KMO, most of the companies are old and scams. But is this the one that you meant? Noble Mineral, NOB? I mean, it looks like this company's a day old. No, I mean, what's the sale target? I don't want to get greedy. I just want to write it up, not down. Let's see. Okay. Well, it is past 5. I'm going to shut this down and I'm going to take a walk in the snow. But I will watch this stock and I'll buy a little bit of it. I don't have much in my account right now. All right.